It was Black Friday, way back in the early 2000s. I don't remember what year exactly. My job at the time was to bring back the carts from the parking lot at a Walmart. That year, Walmart offered a plasma TV at a crazy low price, and it really was the hottest deal of the year. A man showed up the Tuesday before the big sale with a tent, ice coolers of food, a small generator, TV, and everything he needed to last the 3 nights he would be camped out. He bragged a lot about being first in line and how he was going to get himself the plasma TV and how he was hosting the next Super Bowl party at his place. So this was just going to be the best thing ever. So, Thanksgiving night, I show up to my shift and he was still there in a crazy happy mood, thankful he was about to be able to finally go home and sleep in his own bed. The local news came and he did a short interview and explained what he was waiting for, how he was able to get time off from work and was really excited over the whole ordeal and prided himself for toughing it out in the cold. The line for the main entrance wrapped around the whole front of the building and about another 300 yards or so past the end of the store building, with thousands of people waiting to get in. At 5 a.m., the doors opened and the man goes straight to electronics for his plasma TV, only to see that they were all gone. So, what happened? The garden center doors opened about 2 minutes before the main front doors, and those that came the night before and waited there scooped up all 15 plasma TVs. The guy who had been there since Tuesday afternoon went nuclear and argued with management, but was stonewalled and told there was nothing that can be done. That guy's Black Friday was a real bad day for him. This woman who works for a local cancer organization was wheeling a cart in the store with several large bolts of the breast cancer pink fabric. She had special ordered the fabric, and we put it in the cart for her so she could continue shopping. Some old lady sees that this woman has all the bolts, and it isn't right that she's hogging the entire stock of that particular print. The woman explains her situation, and that she in fact special ordered these, and that the reason she was coming in on Black Friday to purchase them is because they were a major Black Friday promotion at 60% off. Well, the old lady continues to yell at the poor woman. The woman very calmly keeps trying to reassure her that she is not taking any of the store stock and that she makes blankets for dying women with breast cancer. She is a very sweet store regular who pays out of pocket for all the blankets she makes for those women. And so my store held the fabric for her until Black Friday, when she could come in and purchase them with her coupon. Old lady doesn't give a shit. Whips out mace, maces the woman, and tackles her to the ground. I and some other staff intervened, and the old lady got kicked out of the store. That same old lady would come in once every couple of months, give me the stink eye, and then rebelliously write down recipes from the food magazines and cookbooks so she wouldn't have to buy them. Then she'd scurry out and come back in a few months and do the same thing. I'm guessing that this happened like 15 years ago or so. I worked for Best Buy. I was hired as a seasonal employee to make some extra cash when my wife got pregnant, and I enjoyed working there most of the time. Unfortunately, Black Friday ended my enjoyment for the big box retailer. It was the year that the PS2 came out. I was in charge of handing out the systems to customers with vouchers, mostly the people who stayed all night camping out. The customers with the vouchers would approach me, and I kept 2 systems in my arms at a time and would go from the stockroom to the floor in order to hand out each system. On one trip out of the stockroom, a gentleman I'm guessing in his early 40s approached me and proceeded to attempt to yank a system out of my hands and run with it. As an aside, I'm no small fellow. I was a running back in college. As the guy attempted to grab and go, I simply tightened my grip, pulled the system away from him, and calmly said, "Your ticket first, sir." He got really angry and said, "I don't have a ticket, and I don't need one. I seen this thing first, so it's mine." After a brief explanation of how the voucher system works, the man and his wife only seemed angrier at me. To really convince me to give him the system, the buy then proceeded to say, "Okay, well, I guess I'll have to whip your ass for it." Maybe because I knew that was only seasonal work for extra income and not my primary work. Or maybe just that. Adrenaline he pumped up in me. I responded, "Sounds great. Wait right here. Let me clock out first, and we can settle this right now." maybe a little taken back by my response. The guy started to profusely apologize and even teared up, giving me some sob story over why he deserved the system. Of course, I didn't give him a system or a beatdown that Black Friday. My wife gave birth to our beautiful daughter the following February, and if she ever considers working in retail stores, I'll tell her this story. I didn't work at the store, but I was dragged by a friend of mine to Walmart to help him get a TV on Black Friday a few years ago. Let me start by saying that I don't even particularly like crowds. I am also not a violent person. I heard lots and lots of Black Friday horror stories and had done pretty well avoiding them. However, about 10 years ago, my friend asked me to help him get a second flat-screen television for his family since, at the time, Walmart had a policy that each person could only reserve one item before midnight. That sounded pretty all right. I mean, I just walk in and say, I want the item. Simple as that, right? I was wrong. Dead wrong. We show up at our local Walmart, and there are people everywhere. I live in Tennessee, and it seems everyone is pretty serious about Walmart here. These people, though, were the worst of the worst. Several of them looked like they hadn't seen daylight since last year's Black Friday sales. Anyway, I make my way through the crowd of southern fried faces and scoop through to the TV section. We are informed that there are only 2 of the TVs that my friend wanted left on the reserve list. Awesome. We tell the woman that we want the televisions, and she just sort of laughs. She then informs us that we have to reach over other people for hours and keep our hands on the televisions that we want. When midnight rolls around, they will cut the wrapping around all the items and tell everyone to go, and that is when we could take them. This is where it gets good. We are waiting there for a couple of hours, and we start to notice how many people are disappointed that there aren't any more of the TV that we have our hands on. Some women even started to cry. I obviously felt a bit distressed with all the action going on, so 2 little old ladies who were next to me told me that it wouldn't be that bad. I would be out of there before I knew it. I smiled and thanked them for their kind words, just as it was nearing midnight. The employees removed all the plastic from the displays of boxes and waited for the announcement. The PA system overhead comes on and just says, "Go." Then all hell breaks loose. Apparently, all the people that were disappointed that there weren't enough TVs had a plan. They just rushed over and started pushing people out of the way. They ran to the roped-off area on the other sides of the boxes and were trying to rip them away from other customers who had been waiting in line for hours. Some of them were even succeeding. I was kind of caught up in the moment and was staring at what was going on while being pushed on all sides. My friend grabs my arm and tells me to hurry and get my TV in the cart before everyone starts fighting. Just as I focus back into reality, a woman starts pulling on the other side of my TV box. I mean, she is really pulling it. I just hold on with all my strength and decide to just let them tire themselves out. That's when I noticed 2 nice elderly old ladies beside me. One was on the floor and was being stomped on by several other women trying to get to their televisions. The other was wailing and crying for God to help her. God didn't help her that day, but I sure did. While still holding onto my box with one hand, I reached into the sea of people and grabbed the television that the older women had their eyes on. I grabbed it off the shelf and started screaming for everyone to back up. That's when they started hitting me. Women were clawing my face, pulling my hair, kicking my legs, and doing everything they could possibly do to make me let go of the old lady's television. I wouldn't. On the other hand, literally, several women were still on the other side of my original box, trying to pull it away from my grip. I yelled out to my friend to help the older women up, who were being buried by women falling over themselves, trying to rush up to the displays. As soon as they are out of the way, I just pull their television out, put it in their cart, and then grab my original box with both hands. I may not be a violent man, but I wasn't about to lose the original TV that I came in for. I got a great grip on the box and just pushed it towards all the women who were pulling on it. This caused them to all just fall in a big comedic pile on the floor. I made my escape from the sea of ladies and proceeded to the checkout counters. Now, don't get me wrong, folks. It was awful, and I have never gone back to a Black Friday sale since. I was covered in cuts, scratches, and bruises, but it was all worth it just to see the look on those two ladies' faces. They were so grateful that I helped them get that television. It was apparently a gift for one of the women's grandsons. She informed me that she didn't have the money to get one that wasn't on sale and had brought her friend to help her get the one she did get. They were so happy. They were just hugging me and telling me how I saved their Christmas. They immediately offered me some money for helping, but of course I refused it. And that is how I saved Christmas and knocked a bunch of women on the floor. I have never worked in retail, but I deliver to a lot of retail stores. I'm an over-the-road trucker. So one Black Friday, I showed up with a delivery at a Walmart. I arrived about 8 a.m., went directly to the back loading docks, and couldn't even back into the dock. It's like my rig was giving off an aroma of bacon that attracts fat, dumpy, meat-eating savages. Turns out, Walmart had some ridiculous prices on flat-screen TVs and had run out. The store manager had told them there were more coming in on the next truck that morning. So, naturally, they saw me. They thought they'd be allowed to just grab them right off the truck. Oh boy, were they disappointed when they saw I had a trailer full of brand new shopping carts. I was working at a grocery store back in 2007. The assholes in charge decided it would be a good idea to sell ground beef chuck for $1.50 a pound, among other things in the store. Imagine a crowd packed so tightly that if you jumped up while in it, your feet wouldn't come back down to the ground. Of course, the meat display was completely empty, and everyone was waiting for me to roll out of those double doors of doom so they could fight each other like savage animals for half-off low-grade beef. When the meat department manager told me the next load was ready for delivery, I went out of the doors to see what the situation looked like, and was met with the blank, soulless stares of hundreds of people, all now focused on me. I was like a deer in headlights. These people were scary. They reminded me of the children of the corn. Luckily, the meat department manager came out after me and announced that the next load was coming out soon and that everyone needed to step back. The people at the front attempted to comply, but the force from the back of the crowd was pushing forward, so little progress was made. The manager and I retreated back through the doors. I grabbed the meat cart, and as I was leaving, he put his hand on my shoulder, looked me in the eye with a face that said, "I hope they don't tear you apart," and told me, "Good luck." I opened the double doors with the cart, slowly pushing to not harm anyone. I could see faces pressing against the windows as I opened them, and the instant those doors opened, the crowd immediately started to frenzy. It started with excessive pushing from the back of the crowd, and then that moved to yelling and screaming, and then came the opportunists using the situation as a distraction to move in, all in a matter of a few seconds. This was quickly becoming a situation that I would not be able to control, honestly, nor did I get paid enough to try. Even though it was originally my intention to stock the meat, I barely got the cart clear of the doors before the mob had taken possession of it. They had literally rolled it away from my grasp. That cart was no longer mine. I retreated inside and watched from behind the window as hundreds of people fought over the quickly depleting meat on the cart. It was very crowded, but at one point, I am sure I saw ground beef packages literally flying out over the crowd over people's heads. The whole spectacle looked like a reenactment of the velociraptor feeding scene from Jurassic Park. Not kidding, in no less than 3 minutes, the meat cart, which had previously carried about 200 pounds of meat, was completely empty. And in looking through those clear plastic windows, I saw the same blank stare in the crowd that I'd seen before. It was at this moment that I realized these people were going to keep doing this over and over until we ran out of meat and told them to go home. To cull the herd, I looked at the ad looking for limits, so I could at least tell folks they couldn't have any more, and was surprised to find that there were no limits for this particular deal. Not long after I got out of retail, I vowed never to enter a store of any kind on Black Friday. I hope you enjoyed these stories on my channel and would like to see more. Please like, subscribe, and comment below. I also encourage you to send in your well-written true stories to the email above. I will continue to keep bringing you the very best true story videos. Thank you.